Hi everyone, my name is Anika Albers, and this art lesson will be on recreating and interpreting art by a Yukon artist named Ted Harrison. The grade level focus will be grade 2, and the Saskatchewan Curriculum Art Outcomes will be CP 2.8 and CR 2.1. However, there are so many different variations for this art lesson, it can be used all the way up to high school. And I am also challenging myself to connect this art lesson to 4 different subjects in grade 2, including math, social studies, science, and English language arts. Ted Harrison is a Britain-born artist who moved to outside of Whitehorse in the Yukon after World War II. His inspiration comes from Inuit culture and lifestyles, the Yukon and Northwest Territory landscapes, and he has also pulled inspiration from Canadian provinces. So now that you have a little bit of a background on who our artist is, let's take a look at some of his artwork. The benefits to Ted Harrison's art is you can reflect with students on where Harrison finds his inspiration for his art, including his local community and local environment. You can then connect that to students' lives on how they find inspiration from their family, community, and environment. Another benefit to Harrison's art is he uses a lot of line and color elements. He uses cool, warm, secondary, and tertiary colors throughout all of his art pieces, and you can discuss with students how he uses them. Often he uses these different cool and warm colors to separate sections within his artwork. So once students have looked at a couple different examples of Harrison's art, we can move on to the actual art process. Alright, to start off, what you need is first, you need a white paper. I've already drawn on my landscape lines and my sun and his rays with pencil. Then what you're going to paint with is I'm using acrylic paint. I'm using water-based acrylic paints so that I can water it down and help mix it up together. Then I also have some water and brushes. And your first step, once you have the pencil lines done, is you're going to take your brush and trace all your lines with your black acrylic now. Alright, so after that step, this is what you're going to kind of have. So now what you need to do is encourage students to pick 2 to 4 colors. Ted Harrison often uses only a couple and dilutes them. And you should also encourage students to practice and try out mixing secondary and tertiary colors. So that's why when I have my acrylic colors, I only have my primary and also my white so that if I need to, I can dilute my colors afterwards. So here's our finished product with our colors and everything. Now, the nice thing about this is once you've looked at the colors and the lines that Ted Harrison used, you can now look at the process that he uses. Because for his art, he actually uses silk pressing to get the vibrant colors and layers them over top. So you can do something along the lines of doing silk pressing shirts or anything like that. And it's another way to, with younger students, you can bring in older grades to silk press shirts together and everything like that. Alright, so now that you have your beautiful artwork, you can extend this to different subjects throughout grade 2 and other grades. For math, one way to do it is look at the different shapes that Ted Harrison uses throughout his artwork, including in his buildings and in his animals. You can also use Ted Harrison's artwork to practice using more or less or equal vocabulary. So he uses more cool colors or more warm colors and so on and so forth. For the science, you can look at the different animals that are in the Yukon and Northwest Territories. You can look at their life cycles and compare them to the animals we have here in Saskatchewan, and also consider how they live in such cold conditions up north. In social studies, we can compare our community here in Saskatchewan to communities up in the north, and also their schools, because oftentimes students in the north are pulled out of regular classrooms to have teaching expeditions with their parents, including learning how to live off the land and learning how to hunt. So that's a lot different than what we see here in Saskatchewan. And lastly, for English language arts, Ted Harrison actually has done 3 children's books that you can bring in and look at how art actually affects what we read. So one of his books is this one, which is O Canada, and each page is a different province in Canada, and he draws his inspiration from each province. The other one is The Children of the Yukon, and also he has The Alphabet of the North. So they're all wonderful books for students to look at how art affects the language arts and what we are reading. So I hope you enjoyed this art lesson and are able to use it in your classroom. Thank you!